Welcome to our weekly edition of a look at the Power 36 that I produced for March Madness and NCAA.com and comparing that with the AP poll. What you see on my right, your left, is the Power 36. That's over here for me. And the AP poll is on the other side. First, before we get to that, a little comparison. Let's first deal with my Player of the Week and Team of the Week for the week that just happened as we look forward to this week. So for my National Team of the Week, I'm going with Michigan. The Wolverines knocked off North Carolina at home in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. Tremendous victory, a dominating win for the Wolverines. Then they followed that up over the weekend with the Big Ten opener, crushing Purdue, essentially, in the second half. So a great week for the Michigan Wolverines, who right now, you could argue, are playing the best basketball in the country outside of Gonzaga. You might argue they're playing even better than the Zags. That's a fair argument. Zags had to come back to win at Creighton in a true tough road game. Player of the week, I went with Marcus Howard from Marquette. He put up 45 points, and I would say Marquette's most important game of the season to date. They knocked off Kansas State at home. Marquette lost to Indiana. They came out of New York with a split in the NIT season tip-off. Here they got Kansas State coming in, an elite Big 12 team, and they beat them, and they beat them soundly. That was a huge win for Marquette. Marcus Howard with 45 points in that victory. It's Marcus Howard and Shamari Pons, who, by the way, will join me on March Madness 365. You'll hear from Shamari Pons. That's his respected competitor for Big East Player of the Year. And Pons has been putting up over 30. You got Marcus Howard putting over 40. Should be an interesting race between those two. All right, so let's look at the Power 36 versus the AP poll. So we got a lot of similarities here, but I like to look at a snapshot of who's playing well right now. I'm going to come out with my seed list for our next bracket that'll be posted later this week on NCAA.com, as well as March Madness and all our social media platforms. So Gonzaga number one, both sides. I moved Virginia up to the 2 spot because of their road win at Maryland in a tough environment. They're playing great right now. Kansas, which held number 2 in the AP poll, they had to go to overtime to beat a very mediocre Stanford team at home. That's why I dropped the Jayhawks. I moved Michigan up to 3 based on what I just told you, the week that the Wolverines had. Duke, I slid to 4. I know that seems weird because they had a great week beating Indiana and Stetson, but I just thought that Michigan's week was better than Duke, and that's why I notched them up, and the same with Virginia, winning on the road at Maryland versus beating Indiana at home and Stetson. Duke is still right there, one of the 4 best teams, so I kind of jockeyed the order a little bit. And you can argue with me all you want, that's fine. After that, I've got Nevada. I dropped Kansas and Duke in a 4-5 matchup because Kansas, has not lost yet, and I just told you why I dropped Duke down. In the AP poll, they got Duke 3, Kansas 2, they got Virginia and Michigan behind them. All these are the best 5 teams right now, and you could argue the order, and that's fine. In the 6th spot, we agree, Nevada, Tennessee, Auburn, all very similar. I had Michigan State 9, Kentucky 10, AP had it reversed. My issue with Kentucky right now doesn't have that signature win yet. They've got plenty of opportunities later this month. I moved Buffalo way up to 11, 17 in the AP poll. You're going to hear from Nate Oates, the Buffalo coach, in my March Madness 365 podcast this week. They just keep winning. They just won in Belfast, beat a very good San Francisco team. Texas Tech skyrocketing. Same with Wisconsin. We 12-13 AP, 12-13 in my poll. So, and I did this Sunday. Did not see the AP poll before. So a lot of similarities. The way Wisconsin's playing right now, tremendous. Winning at Iowa, beat NC State in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. Texas Tech beat Memphis down in Miami, and they had a huge win the week before over Thanksgiving in Kansas City over Nebraska. And then after that, it's really, you could go in so many different orders. You know, they have North Carolina at 14. They looked awful last week. Roy Williams would agree with that. So I had North Carolina down at 29. Little penalty for the way they played the last week, and I think that's fine. Virginia Tech lost to Penn State. That's why I ding them. Kansas State lost to Marquette. Ding them. Iowa had a loss last week. Ohio State. So actually, I had Florida State up high after their win over Purdue. Villanova looking very strong right now. I moved them up. I gave some love to Syracuse after winning at Ohio State. Houston knocked off Oregon. They've already beaten BYU. I have Houston at 17, and I don't even see Houston in the top 25. What's up with that? Don't get that. Mississippi State's in the top 25. They don't have a great win yet, so that's why I don't have them in my list. They do have Maryland. I have Maryland in the I moved Maryland. Where did I move Maryland? Up to 27, on the verge of 25. They've got them at 23. Furman at 25, and I like that. Great respect for the Paladins, who haven't lost yet. But I have them in my 36 at 34. Are they one of the 25 best teams in the country? Not yet. Their win over Villanova, obviously, is monumental. They caught Villanova at a downtime. Let's see how Furman handles the rest of their schedule. They got a game coming up against LSU, which will be really, really telling. St. John's is interesting. I've got them at 33. Winning games, undefeated, but by a slim margin against marginal competition right now. Cal, VCU, Georgia Tech. These are teams that are not going to make the NCAA tournament. Let's see how they handle when they get into the Big East, and then they get that monster showdown at Duke. Arkansas, I had basically around the same vicinity. They haven't lost since they knocked off Indiana, but they haven't played a great schedule. I moved Louisville on the cusp of getting in at 26 after beating Michigan State at home in overtime, and then with their victory over Seton Hall, game I was at. That's a road game. So that's why I got Louisville right there on the cusp. Arizona State, I got a 25. They got a 20. I could argue either way. That's fine. No issue there. They're undefeated. They take on Nevada Friday night at the Staples Center in L.A. Certainly should be an interesting matchup. So, look, I moved a bunch of teams down. The team I got in my top 36, though, Radford, 35, checking in after they won at Texas. So, and Temple is another newcomer here as well. Great week, beating St. Joe's and winning at Missouri. They're going to be one of the better teams in the AAC. Cincinnati's that team that I'm right on the cusp of that. UCF lost at Missouri. I bounced them out. So there's going to be a lot of just fluctuation with the AAC, I think, in my Power 36. This week, Gonzaga plays Washington, and then Tennessee on Saturday in Phoenix. That is the game of the week. You have to check out that one on Saturday. I'm going to be at a great in-state matchup on Thursday night. Iowa State at Iowa. I've never been to that game before. Looking forward to that one. Certainly should be as intense as we've seen these kind of in-state rivalries. But I think that game on Saturday between Gonzaga and Tennessee, that's a potential Elite Eight Final Four matchup. Will be pretty telling to see which team comes out of that. Gonzaga's in a brutal stretch right now. They just beat Creighton on the road, Washington, Tennessee, and Phoenix, and then the week after at North Carolina. All right, as always, go check out our March Madness social media platforms. We got the podcast, March Madness 365. Check out the Power 36. You can see it on my feed at The Andy Katz, of course, at March Madness. All their feeds, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, NCAA.com. I really appreciate you clicking on all this and watching. And certainly the hoop season, as the football season is starting to end, is starting to pick up in its intensity. Thank you.